This is Common Sense Radio on Lanterns Media Network, powered by freedom-loving, self-reliant Americans. I'm Susan Swift. I'm a proud native Texan, married mother of 7. I've been an actress, a lawyer, and I love God, family, and country. And yes, I'm the C word. I'm a conservative, fighting the good fight on the left coast.
And I'm AJ Davis, born and raised on the East Coast, now infiltrating the left coast. I'm a millennial, a husband, father of 3, and a military veteran. I'm fat, I'm bald, and yeah, I'm not politically correct. Welcome to Common Sense Radio on Lanterns Media Network. And greetings and welcome to the program, folks. We are so glad to have you tonight. We've got... Remember the Ice Bucket Challenge? People film themselves dumping a bucket of ice water over their head to promote the awareness of Lou Gehrig's disease. Well, there's a new challenge. And yes, it is a Darwin Award winner for the ages. And we'll get to that in the second half of the show. But what we have for you in story for the show tonight is an update from a past story, the real numbers behind Planned Parenthood and the NRA, the ultimate tool that men use to control women for their own sexual pleasures. And we have the update of the night. Susan, I know you've been on the edge of your seat watching the Villanova and Michigan basketball game, haven't you?
I absolutely have not.
Anyways.
Well, look, I just know that basketball is a game where you throw a ball into a hoop on either side of a court, and that's what you do, and it's really cool. And I was just excited because, you know, I know about like the Sweet 16 and I know about the Fabulous Four. I know those terms, and I understand that basketball is like you run a lot and throw a ball a lot. I always wanted to be on the basketball team in high school, but I maxed out at like 5'1.5". So yeah, no, I didn't. I never made the basketball team. I thought it was a cool game, but no, I haven't been following it. So I want to know who won because at least I will know who won. So lay it on me. Tell me all about it.
Okay, Villanova beats Michigan 79-62 to win the basketball championship, and we had a lot of, as Dickie Vitale will say, diaper dandies this year, which is fantastic players and Cinderella teams that just came out that are very high seeds that beat people that they weren't supposed to beat.
There was one that had like a 92-year-old nun.
Yes, Loyal, Maryland, Chicago,
yeah,
something like that. I'm not exactly sure.
They weren't supposed to even make it past like round 1 or something, and they made it up to the 4.
Yeah, incredible.
That's the only thing I know. That's it. I have now said more than I know.
It's because you're Catholic, and she was Catholic. So one of the things that I do every year is a bracket, and only out of the millions of people, I mean, I think there's like anywhere between 15 and 30 million people that do brackets nationwide or worldwide.
Uh-huh. You did a bracket.
Oh yeah, I ranked. You want me to tell you how I ranked? I mean, I ranked darn good. 15,403,000 place.
You define that as good. We better get to the articles because I'm telling you, we better start talking about it. You are not an authority on basketball.
No, I'm not. I'm not. Anyways, folks, we want to give you an update, and then Susan's going to get into the meat and potatoes of the show tonight. As we covered in the past, 70 to 100,000 people in Ireland, Dublin, marched to the streets to protest the repeal of the Eighth Amendment. Well, the pro-borts, the people that want abortion and want to repeal of the Eighth Amendment, got the referendum onto the docket for May 25th. So we are screwed. Yeah, I mean, it's coming up soon.
Is coming up on May 25th, and really, it's a referendum on whether or not Ireland is going to repeal the Eighth Amendment. The Eighth Amendment in Ireland, in the Irish Constitution, simply declares that the state acknowledges the right to life of the unborn and with due regard to the equal right to life of the mother, guarantees in its laws to respect and, as far as practicable by its laws, to defend and vindicate that right. So it's simply a statement of the right to life of the mother and of the unborn child. That's all it says. And now we've got a referendum on the ballot trying to repeal that. And if it's repealed, by repealing the Eighth Amendment in Ireland off the Constitution, there's already drafted legislation waiting in the wings, ready to legalize abortion in the first trimester of pregnancy, subject to a 72-hour waiting period. But it's already there. It's kind of like the Obamacare health legislation. It was sitting in drawers for 20 years and up in Washington. And so all of the pro-aborts in Ireland have already gotten legislation that's just poised, ready to go into effect the minute that they repeal this constitutional amendment in Ireland. But even more important than that, and there's not much that's more important than life, except for one thing, which is God. And what this really is, when you tear it all away, is this is, again, the anti-religion forces, the socialist, fascist, Marxist, anti-God forces who are trying to attack Christian religion. Because our faith teaches us that God gave us life and freedom. And so how do you attack that? Well, you attack life. You say life is not sacred, and life doesn't really begin at conception, and we can play with it, we can mix it up in test tubes and all that other stuff. We make ourselves God over life. And that's what's really behind all of this. This to strike at the heart of Ireland, which has been a Catholic country forever, right? The Irish themselves, they spread all over the world, and they revolutionized the entire world. They brought Western civilization to all parts of the globe. Whether you agree with it or not, it's a historical fact. And so to attack this little country of Ireland that has clung to its Catholic, Christian faith for so long, that would be a coup for the pro-aborts and the social justice warriors and all those forces of death. And that's why they're doing it, because they're trying to attack God. How do you attack God in a variety of ways? Well, through attacks on life, abortion, and also attacks on marriage, because marriage is a reflection of the Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. It's reflected in the Mother and the Father and the Holy Spirit, the giver of life. So that's why they attack traditional marriage and want to redefine it. That's why they've redefined what life is. Well, life's it's a bunch of cells. We can just, define when it begins sometime after birth, right? Because it's not alive. It's a mass of tissue. That's how you start redefining these basic fundamental Christian concepts. And this is fundamentally an attack on religion. That's what's going on. Mm-hmm. So we'll find out on May 25th. That's when the referendum is going to be voted on in Ireland, and hopefully enough Irish people will there's a pro-life
defeat it.
Well, hopefully they will, and it's called Save the Eighth. That's the pro-life group that started a campaign called Save the Eighth, and they've had rallies, and we've been reporting on that to you. So hopefully they'll be able to mobilize enough of the Irish voters to go to the polls and defeat the referendum that's coming up to try to remove the Eighth Amendment from the Irish Constitution. So there you go. That's the update.
And we'll see if we can get somebody on to that's over in Ireland. We're working on it. We'll get an Irishman. We'll get an Irishman, eh?
So lucky for you, maybe talking to you from Ireland, yeah.
Hey, Susan. So I want to know. I wonder if those people over in Ireland have like a NARAL or a Planned Parenthood. I'd like to hear them say it in their accent. I love an Irish accent.
That would be good. I do too. It sounds like so much fun. Maybe we'll have to ask our Irish friend. Okay, what's the equivalent? I'm sure Planned Parenthood's over there. They probably, I wonder what
they're
they call
worldwide.
Themselves. We'll find out who it is. We should do some research on that.
They probably don't even call it Planned Parenthood. They probably call it Planned Death.
No, they'd be calling it. Well, we like kids to just help the family along. We'll have the Irish Family Brigade or something like that. They'd be calling it the helpful family plan, something like that. I don't know what they be calling it in Ireland, but they be calling it something because they're so clever. We'll have to think about that. I'm going to give that some thought. What would you call Planned Parenthood in Irish? Think about that. If anybody's got an idea, put it in the comments below after we post the show on Facebook. Put your little comments.
Let us know.
What would Planned Parenthood be called in the Irish?
Oh man! So NRA versus Planned Parenthood, the abortion whores. Who really spends more? The NRA, if you listen to the mainstream media, or as Susan, you like to say, the hashtag make-believe media.
Yes.
The NRA has killed millions of people. But to date, 60 million babies have been killed. That's $3 per baby from the $20 million that Planned Parenthood spent last year in political elections.
Yeah. This is really shocking because, as you said, the make-believe media, David Hogg most recently, and all the attackers on the NRA, they're trying to demonize the NRA, which is, the National Rifle Association, right? That's simply a group of Americans who come together as a grassroots organization who defend the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms. That's it. They don't kill anybody, and they don't get any government money to kill people, all right? But they get tarred and feathered by the make-believe media as though they are responsible for the Parkland shooting or the Florida nightclub shooting, or any time that you have some wacko nut job going off with a gun and hurting people, the liberals just jump on the anti-gun, anti-NRA bandwagon, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to attack the NRA because that is America. The middle flyover country of America. It's not California. It's not New York City and Connecticut. It's the rest of the country. Almost everybody in the Midwest and all those places, those are regular, normal American people. And yeah, they use guns to go hunting, and they use guns for sport practice, things like that, target shooting, and for fun. And yeah, they also believe that it's important to defend yourself with a gun if need be. The entire purpose for the Second Amendment, in case you don't know, is it was drafted by the Founding Fathers to defend Americans from a tyrannical government. It's not to guarantee, hunting rights. It's not to protect your ability to go target shooting. It's there to protect you and me against a tyrannical government. That's all the NRA is a group of people who have like-minded, beliefs, and they fundraise and they contribute to political causes. And there was a big brouhaha, a few weeks ago when they started saying, oh, did you know that since 1998 the NRA has donated $3.5 million to current members of Congress? Dun, dun, dun! Find out who has received the donations, right? That's the thing. So since 1998, now we're in 2018, so that's 20 years. So over 20 years, the evil NRA has donated $3.5 million to current members of Congress. Okay, and let's talk about Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood.
Do we have to?
Oh yeah, I know, right? I call them the abortion whores because that's what they are. That's what they sell abortion for money, right? They're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts, and it's not free. It's not a charitable service. They're whoring abortion. That's what they do. And they actually bill the American taxpayer for it. They're getting something like over $500 million of taxpayer money in our budget, right? The budget deal that just got passed, they're fully funded, these people. So they're getting millions and millions and millions of dollars from you and me against our will, right? These abortion whores, Planned Parenthood. And then they turn around. It's like a money laundering system. They get money from the government, and then guess what they do? They donate the money back to certain candidates who will vote for abortion and for more Planned Parenthood money. That's what they do. It's a mill. It really is. It's an abortion money mill. That's exactly what this is. So Planned Parenthood spent, just take a guess. I know you've already, just pretend you don't know anything, but what would you think Planned Parenthood spent just in 1 year alone last year? What do you think they spent last year alone in donations to members of Congress in campaigning?
More than should ever be donated?
Yeah. Well,
way too much.
More than $3.5 million, which is the total for 20 years worth of NRA donations. 20 years of NRA donations is $3.5 million. Do you know what Planned Parenthood spent in 1 year alone? $38 million. $38 million in 1 year. Okay. Now, there's a magazine called The Federalist. Its founder, Sean Davis, tweeted out the math, and he tweeted out, "It takes a special brand of DC stupid to insinuate." I know, don't you love him? It takes a special brand of DC stupid to insinuate that $3.5 million over 20 years is game changing, when last year's candidates spent $6.8 billion with a B. Billion. Can you wrap your head around that? That was last year's, in 2017, obviously run up to the presidential election. They spent $6.8 billion. But yes, we're going to go after and demonize the NRA for donating $3.5 million over 20 years. That's just crazy. And the other thing is that just Planned Parenthood's Action Fund has estimated in late 2015 that it would spend $20 million on candidates in the 2016 election cycle. So basically as of election day last year, and by the way, the source that I'm talking about, all of this comes from LifeSite News, okay? The source for these figures. As of election day last year, individuals and entities associated with Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider, had spent, hold on to your knickers, at least $38 million on candidates between 2012 and 2016 election cycles. Yep, LifeSite News. So, you know what? As I said, Planned Parenthood gets all that money to spend on political campaigns right from us, from the government itself. So they're receiving millions and millions, 500 million, over 500 million, right, from government taxpayers against our will, and then they just turn around and they donate it back to the candidates who got them there. It's a money laundering system. It is truly an abortion money mill. That's what's going on.
Unbelievable.
You and I are funding abortion, and we are donating way more to abortion mills than the NRA has ever donated to any candidate ever in the history of the NRA donating. So there. That puts the end of that. The NRA versus Planned Parenthood smackdown, Planned Parenthood walks away with that one.
Well, Susan, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and take a break. And on the other side of the break, we will bring to light the new Darwin Award winner for the ages.
Oh yes, the challenge, the latest
challenge of the year.
Oh, you're going to die. You're going to die. I was laughing on the floor. All right.
All right.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
In every rising of the sun, my purpose was to be thankful to be alive. I was even more thankful for the blessings that came with this life, specifically Virdis, my wife. But that came to an end when Aklavane and her minions violently took her away from me. So my new purpose in this life is to gather all the pieces of the Stone's Heart so I can defeat Aklavane and get back my bride. Join me as I travel to new worlds, making new friends and avoiding old enemies. Read more about my story in the first 2 books of the Stone's Heart series, which are now available on Amazon.com in Kindle format. The first book is The Quest for Savitvarda, and that is followed by The Heart of Pagaila. Stone's Heart is more than a fantasy and a sci-fi quest. It's me fighting to get back my precious wife, despite the overwhelming odds against me. Stone's Heart. Join, explore, and believe.
And welcome back to the program, folks. Susan and I have never been so excited to share a story with you than this next one. Okay. Susan, do you remember the ice bucket challenge when people filled themselves dumping of a bucket of ice water over their head to promote awareness for the Lou Gehrig's disease? I mean, I did it myself.
You did?
I did.
Did you put it on Facebook and people donated money or whatever for you?
Well, I don't think people donated. They actually kept watching it over and over again because I made a fool of myself.
Oh, I'd love to see that. We got to see
I'll have to track that down, yes.
All right.
Well, there's a new challenge, and it's called the Condom Snorting Challenge. That's teens are doing to promote awareness to just how stupid teens can be. I mean, why the voting age should be raised immediately. I mean, first Tide Pods, now condoms.
I know, right? This is the Tide Pod generation just does themselves even more proud here because here's the stupid thing about this. I mean, teenagers, here's what just imagine what they do. Teenagers are now recording themselves to, because everything's got to be on Facebook and Twitter and everything, right? So they're recording themselves putting unwrapped condoms up into their nostrils, okay? And then inhaling them, kind of until the condom comes out into their mouths. It's kind of like when you were young and you'd start laughing so hard that your milk would come out your nose. Like that, you'd be laughing so hard and it would just come out. Didn't that hurt? Well, they're doing it reverse. They're snorting, like snorting cocaine, right? But they're snorting up these condoms and it goes into the back of their throat and then they cough it out their mouth. And they think that that's cool. They think it's funny. And here's what busted me up. I couldn't stand. I saw the video. A local Fox News affiliate reported it, and apparently the Fox News media had to round up some sort of condom snorting expert to explain.
Wait,
actually a bad thing. I'm not even kidding you.
There's an expert on condom snorting now?
This is what cracked me up about it. It's like what cracked me up is that the experts, we have to have an expert now to warn teens and their parents about sticking a condom up your nose in the first place. But yes, the Fox News media, they rounded up some guy named Bruce Lee, right? Not the guy, but Bruce Lee. He is an associate professor of international health at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. I mean, that sounds like a real person, right? He's an expert, right? He wrote a column about the dangerous trend for Forbes magazine. And he of course was, laughing about it. He said, gee, what could go wrong when inhaling an object made of latex rubber and covered in lubricant and spermicide, right? I mean, but what cracked me up, he said in Forbes magazine, of course, that a condom could easily get stuck in your nose and become a choking hazard if it blocks the airway. And the thing that kills me is we have to have an expert explain this to us, right? It's not, teenagers can't figure this thing out because, it's a big plastic thing and it's going in your nose. And if you get it stuck in your throat, you die and you become a natural Darwin Award winner. I think that's one heck of a birth control device, actually. Condoms, the new birth control device. We just kill you when you're a teen before you can reproduce. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Okay, Susan, I want to play out a scenario for you. I just thought. Okay. Are you ready for this? Okay, so you're in your bedroom, snorting up, and it gets stuck. Condom. The condom gets stuck. And you go up to your mom or dad. Can you take me to the hospital? I would just smack my kid if they did that. How many? I want to know what the ER visits are like on this.
I'd say that's one hell of a booger. What are you hanging out of your nose there, son? Let me hold on and I'll yank it real hard and get it out. Oh my gosh.
Could you imagine this though? Tide Pod eaters and condom snorters to breed.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering is, do we really want the Tide Pod crunchers and the condom snorters to breed? Because that's who we're talking about is Gen Z here. We got your Tide Pod eaters, and then the condom snorters. They could go on dates to the prom, and then they could actually breed, and that would be the stupidest kid on the block. Has got to be, right? If your dad's a condom snorter and your mom's a Tide Pod cruncher, what does that make you?
That makes you an idiot.
That's really dumb, really, really dumb. But that is now the latest challenge to prove your, I don't know. Way back in the day, I guess frat guys would swallow goldfish or pack themselves into telephone poles or something to prove their masculinity or whatever. But now we're gonna prove our masculinity or our femininity, I guess, by snorting condoms. I just hope we don't start snorting diaphragms. That's all I'm worried about. Okay, just saying, because then it's worse. It could be worse. It could be a diaphragm.
I mean, what's next?
That could hurt, man.
No kidding.
But I mean, Planned Parenthood should have a condom snorting contest. Don't you think?
Yeah.
They could hand out free condoms to snort, and they could have a whole day at this clinic to snort up condoms. That would promote their entire brand. I think it really works for as stupid as that condom challenge is. That would work beautifully for Planned Parenthood.
Never in my life would I imagine that in, April 2nd, 2018, that we would be talking about condom snorters or kids that want to eat laundry pods.
It's just, I don't know.
We're only in April.
Cross the cultural Rubicon. You know that? We might just be, as a society, we may have just gone too far. Somebody's got to explain to these kids, you can't eat chemicals and you can't snort latex, okay? It's bad for you. But anyway, that is the latest. Now you're up to date on the
nonsense.
Nonsense. What teens will do. They don't have enough homework.
No,
I had too much homework. I couldn't even imagine doing stuff like that. I guess we need more homework or more after school activities or something.
Let's not go that far. Hey, and you were bringing up about the frat guys. Did you have any experience with them swallowing goldfishes or anything like that?
Nope, never swallowed any goldfish.
Okay,
I stayed
just
kind of
checking.
far away from the frat guys. I ended up marrying a frat guy though, so I must say.
Uh-oh, that explains a lot.
Yeah. I was a sorority girl. Yes, I was.
Well, you know what? Maybe the men can start studying for to figure out the ultimate tool to control women.
I know what that is.
What do you think it is?
Oh, I know what it is. I know what the ultimate tool is to control women, to use them as your sexual pleasure toy. I know exactly what it is.
Can you fill me in?
Careful how you say that, big guy. It's abortion. It's abortion.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, I know, it is. But it really, truly is. Because abortion was introduced into the... I will find you this article. Hang on one second. I'm finding it, right?
I'm hanging on.
Hang on. With dear life, right? I will explain this to you. This is way back in the day. This source, again, is Live Action. Okay, liveaction.org, which is a very pro-life website. If you haven't checked it out, that's Lila Rose's website, liveaction.org. And they've done an article recently discussing the first feminists of the United States of America. And these first feminists did not want what today's liberal feminists want. They did not want total and complete reproductive freedom and abortion. These first feminists saw abortion for what it truly is, which is the oppression of women and children. It's turning women and children into, property and sexual toys for men. One of the early feminists, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who lived, I think, over 100 years ago, she said, quote, "When we consider that women have been treated as property, it is degrading to women that we should treat our children as property to be disposed of as we see fit." She, this was in 1868, in the issue of the Revolution, Stanton referred to the murder of children either before or after birth as an evil, which has become frightfully prevalent. So the whole notion of abortion, of killing unborn children, was an absolute horror to Americans' first feminists. They never could have foreseen that, and they considered the action evil and gross. But the question is, well, how did that type of feminism, which was it was truly pro-women, which was we want equal pay for equal wage, we want to be treated, have given the vote, all of those good things of feminism, how did that get perverted into today's worship of, of the abortion mill and the abortion process? Well, Susan B. Anthony, she explained it like this. She said, all the articles on this subject of abortion that I have read have been from men. They denounce women as alone guilty and never include man in any plans for the remedy. Guilty? Yes. No matter what the motive, love of ease, or a desire to save from suffering the unborn innocent, the woman is awfully guilty who commits the deed, the abortion. It will burden her conscience in life. It will burden her soul in death. But oh, thrice guilty is he who drove her to the desperation which impelled her to the crime. So she nails it. She says, look, men are equally responsible for abortion. They should be defenders of life as well and protectors of women. But even into the 60s, the women's movement remained focused on issues like women's right to education, equal pay, as I was saying, and the notion of the right to abortion was not a goal of feminists. Even 100 years after, Elizabeth Stanton had written, but it became an issue when men added abortion to the feminists' to-do list. And these are the two guys who did it. They were the founders of NARAL, which we are going to discuss on another show. We're going to get into NARAL because that is like Planned Parenthood on steroids. That's what NARAL is. Lawrence Lader and abortionist Bernard Nathanson founded NARAL. And they concluded that they needed feminists to sell it. That's what they needed. They needed feminists on board with them if they wanted to get abortion legalized. They needed women to sell abortion, and what they wanted was abortion. And after years of trying to persuade her, Lawrence later convinced Betty Friedan to include abortion in her political platform, even though at the time Friedan was initially opposed to abortion. But he got her convinced. And that's where it all started with Lader and Nathanson from NARAL. They wanted to include abortion. So they sold the women on abortion. And then the women who were feminists adopted the abortion plank and then ran with it from there. And that was the whole point of it. The whole point of it was to sell the sexual revolution to work, to make the whole sexual revolution work. Men needed to avoid accountability for their sexual escapades, and the best way to remain uncommitted and unaccountable to women was to make sure that children were never born as a result of their sexual affairs. See, with abortion, men can go and sleep around and have all the fun they want, and they don't have to be saddled with the burden of the child. And that's how they sold abortion. And then on the heels of that, of course, then they even went further and they sold the whole notion of the pill so that they could free up women to be just, basically, they're sexual slaves. Because if you're on the pill, you're sterile. And then that way men don't have to worry about taking care of responsibility for children. So that's the tool. The ultimate tool to keep women captive as sex slave is really abortion.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but it's also encouraging people to live out in sin. And it's disgusting, to be honest with you.
It divorces the whole notion of just the specialness and the sanctity and the creation of what women are. We are vessels of life. We create life. That's one of the gifts that we have. And so what they've done is by sterilizing women with the pill and then doing worse by aborting children, they make it so that we're just objects. And of course, now we can be objectified and, by, Hugh Hefner and the rest and sold on book covers, magazines, movies, everything. Then we just become sexual objects and for pleasure for men, which is actually very, very similar to the Muslim stance on women. Actually, if you want to know,
I do want to know. Can you die? No, I'm just joking.
That would be on another show, but it is. I mean, that what the Muslim faith really is about is it feeds the carnal lusts of men. It's all designed around that. That's why women you can have several wives. They all have to be covered. They're your property, kind of a thing. They can't go out without you. You have to have four related men have to attest to the rape. If a woman says she was raped, she's got to have 4 male witnesses. It's crazy. It feeds the carnality of men. That's the Muslim faith. I mean, the leader himself had a bride at 7. I mean, it's all about the sexual appetite of men. That's what it fulfills. And that's why the attack onto Christianity is growing, because the Christian notion of the relation between man and woman is a very sacred one, is a very special one that is that procreates, that creates life. And now we're turning that. Since the 60s, we've turned it upside down and sideways, so that now it's not important that life is the goal, or life is the natural result. And so that way everybody can just, hey, we can just be dogs and cats in the streets and just enjoy ourselves. So they're selling us this enjoyment without any kind of responsibility, and it cheapens everyone, and it cheapens the women the worst, and it takes advantage of women and children, kills the children, and then makes the women basically, sex toys. And it's all abortion.
Yeah. It's crazy to me, because I've experienced something traumatic with someone close to me, and I know I've probably said it on the show about 600 times, and I'll continue to say it for the rest of my life, is I had a coworker that her wife, or not her wife, she got pregnant at the same time as my wife did with our third. I know we're trying to keep up with you, Susan, because what are you described as, a breather or a breeder?
I'm a breeder. Yeah, I'm a breeder. I've had too many children, according to the abortion people.
Yes. Anyways,
if you have more than 2 children, you're over your quota.
Oh, we're over our China quota. Anyways, just a quick recap of it is she, we say a month apart, kept having all these kind of milestones together, laughing back and forth. Oh yeah, my wife would say, oh yeah, whenever I sneeze, I pee my pants, or something like that. Typical pregnant women situations. And having a pregnant wife is probably the most beautiful thing in the world, because two people created a child with the gift from God, and it's just incredible. Anyways, this lady, her baby was prematurely born in one of the hospitals here, and they thought he was getting better, and then it all of a sudden tanked and passed away, and she just couldn't even look at me. She stopped working at work. She went somewhere else because I think it bothered her so much, because every time she looked at me, we had a connection that, okay, well, we both had, my kid was, my youngest is 3 right now, going on 4. She could. It was heartbreaking. When I saw her for the first time, because she ended up taking 6 months off, I literally almost cried. I had to hold back tears, because it was just such a. All she wanted was a baby, and these people are just going to these abortion mills and just trying. It's no regard for life. That's the thing that gets me up every day to fight for the newborn babies.
What makes me the saddest of all is either they don't understand what life is, that perhaps they're just ignorant, and for them my heart breaks. But the worst ones are the doctors and the nurses who participate in it, because they know what they're doing.
Oh gosh,
they know, and I don't know how they sleep at night. I don't know how once you understand and know that that's actually a human being, and it could be the dearest, sweetest child ever. It can cure cancer, all those things. But even if it's not going to make any major contribution to whatever art or science you think is important, it still would love to run in the fields and laugh and smell a flower and play in the mud and draw with crayons, or go pet a cat, all the really simple things that children love to do. Even if they have Down syndrome, or even if they're handicapped, they still love life. Yep. They still experience life. There was a child that I've known that had trisomy 18. Trisomy 18, which is deemed to be fatal. They're not even supposed to survive. But this child was born and lived for over a year and was sentient. He would laugh and smile at you and giggle and things. And he wasn't even supposed to. They were trying to tell the couple to abort the child. And yet it's so rare that these children are even allowed to be born. And they do love life, and they experience life. And for these abortion doctors and nurses and Planned Parenthood people to deny that, to say, I am smarter than you are. I know what's best. You don't even have the right to breathe air. You don't even have the right to feel the sun on your face, or to smell a flower, or to feel a little kitten purr up against your leg, or to nuzzle your head. You don't have that right. I'm going to deny you that right. That they're putting themselves above God. And that is That is so dangerous. And what frustrates me is that we've just gone through this big budget battle, and once again, Congress has fully funded, abortion. They didn't give him very much for the wall. They put Trump over a barrel. They made sure that they had the military funding in there, and which we desperately needed. And then they kept all of the other things that Trump ran against. I mean, Trump promised to build a wall. They made sure there was almost no money in there for that. Trump promised that he would defund Planned Parenthood, and yet here's Congress, which is completely controlled by the GOP. Need I remind you?
The snakes.
They're fully funding all of this, and they've got excuses after excuses after excuses. And you know what? We can keep sending people up there to DC, but most of them get, vampirized. They get, sucked into this, bitten by the, the power bug up there, and then they corrupt themselves, or maybe they don't represent what they truly are when they're campaigning, but they don't do anything about it. And there's actually, I read a piece. Oh, I wish I could find it. I don't right now, but it was a pro-life piece that said, look, what are we going to have to do? The funny thing is, like in California, we have, it's now pro-marijuana, right? And they, within a year or two, they got, marijuana legalized here in California, right?
Yeah.
And now we've got
same up here.
the sanctuary cities. They are what they are doing is they're absolutely flouting federal law on sanctuary cities. They're ignoring federal law. Well, this article that I read, I believe it was in LifeSite News. I can't remember exactly. I'm so sorry. But it advocated, well, why don't we start flouting the laws on abortion? Why don't we just say, no, I'm not going to do this. We are going to not allow abortion in our city, for instance. If these sanctuary cities can say, well, we don't have to obey federal law, what's to stop pro-life people from saying, I'm not going to abide by Roe versus Wade? You see, there either is one law for all Americans or there isn't. And we have been obeying the law for years and years and years and trying to change it constitutionally through our elected representatives. We send them up there and they don't do anything. They've just given us this budget back that just proves, okay, yeah, they'll tell us that they'll defund Planned Parenthood if we keep giving them power. We give them power, then they don't do anything about it. They didn't. I don't even think they decreased it. Nothing. So they keep giving in, and I wonder at what point do we have to take it upon ourselves and say, yeah, I'm not in our city. We're not going to allow any more abortion factories to come in here. We're going to deny funding and we're going to deny zoning. There've got to be civil disobedient type step. We need to take a page out of the pro marijuana playbook. That's what this article was talking about. I believe it was on LifeSite News, just saying they can teach us a thing or two because we are law abiders. They're law breakers, and they keep winning, and we don't do anything. And we keep thinking that we're going to make a change up in Washington D.C.
We're not.
We're not getting anywhere because they keep taking our money and they keep killing babies with it. It's just it's mind-boggling. So at some point, there's going to have to be a civil disobedience uprising that's grassroots that says no, we are not going to allow abortions to be happening in our city. I don't even know what it would even look like, but at a certain point, we have to take a page out of those books and say, yeah, sanctuary city, no abortion here. This is a true sanctuary city. We don't allow you to kill babies. Something like that. But we have to start militarizing the pro-life side of the equation because they're so successful at it. We're not getting anywhere playing by the rules. It's very frustrating.
It is. It would be amazing if we could flip the sanctuary city term to abortion free. It would be incredible. And here down where I live in the wine country of Oregon, we had a Planned Parenthood in this one city, and I knew some folks that I had met doing some political activism in the area that would stand out in front of wineries and that Planned Parenthood, where the Planned Parenthood eventually packed up and moved out and just protested them day in and day out. And that's all these people did, would travel around and did stuff like that. I mean, it was incredible.
And shut them down. And that's, I think we may have to get to that point because it doesn't seem that when we obey the laws that we're getting anywhere, and we far outnumber these, sanctuary city radicals and the liberal pro-aborts. We far outnumber them. But the trouble is, they're very good at the rabble rousing. Just like this kid, David Hogg, who gets. It's funny. I heard Rush Limbaugh call him Camera Hog. That was great, because that's exactly what that kid is. He's always pushing his face in the camera, and he is very anti-gun, and he plays the child card. He gets to say, "Oh, you're bullying children." He's 19 or something, and he gets to play the child card anytime anybody criticizes him or points anything out that's contrary to whatever he wants. He jumps on it, and he's very effective at turning the tables. Of course, he's got the media backing him and cleaning him up and all of that. But he gets to play the victim child card, as though he is just a young, innocent, 14-year-old child who's being bullied by the big people in the media, like Laura Ingraham. Did you hear about what happened on that Laura Ingraham show on Fox News with David Hogg? Did you hear about that?
Yeah, she retweet something and said he was whiny or something like that, and that's what it's led to. I mean, my goodness. Yeah,
she retweeted. He was whining about how he couldn't get into some of his schools. He's applying for college right now because he's like 18 or 19, just graduating Parkland.
Well, we don't have any confirmation of his age,
and it's true we don't. But he's according to his tweets, he's applying for colleges, and he didn't get into 4 of them. One of them was UCLA.
Darn.
And I believe that Laura Ingraham tweeted out, she said, well, that's not surprising given that the threshold GPA to get into UCLA is 4.2. So, yeah, it's not so – and, he's whining about it, basically. I think that's what she said. And then he went off on her and demanded an apology, and then basically listed all of her sponsors and demanded that people start boycotting the sponsors to basically threaten. He's threatening her financially that way. That's what he did. And she's lost many different advertisers. I think there's the list is Nutrish. It's a pet food line. So Nutrish is one, TripAdvisor's another, Wayfair, Nestle, Hulu, Expedia, and Stitch Fix. So those are and Johnson & Johnson's another one, Office Depot, and Jenny Craig, and Atlantis Paradise Island Resort. So those companies dropped advertising on the Laura Ingraham show because Hogg was going after her. And he said on Twitter, an apology in an effort just to save your advertisers is not enough. I will only accept your apology. I know. Can you believe it? Only if you denounce the way your network has treated my friends and I in this fight. Man, the kid doesn't even have good grammar. It's time to love thy neighbor, not mudsling at children. It's like, dude, you are trying to be like a media god, okay? And yet you're going to play the child card. You guys are young adults, and you know the game you're playing. And your mom and dad have been in media. I guess his dad had been in FBI. He knows exactly what he's doing, but he's going to play the child card. Now, I'll grant him that he's really ignorant. He doesn't know grammar. His tweets prove that, and he absolutely does not know the Constitution because he thinks the First Amendment protects backpacks.
Well, here's the thing, Susan, with him.
I'll give him. I will tell you. Yeah, he is a child, and he is very uneducated, and that's my whole point. Is that these Tide Pod generation kids, they ought not to be pontificating on constitutional law because they don't know enough yet. They are ignorant children, and I grant you that. So yes, David Hogg, you're an ignorant child. You need to get educated. Come back to me in 20 years and talk to me about the Second Amendment then.
No doubt. Well, I have a solution. Well, I don't have a solution. You know who Matt Walsh is, right, over at thedailywire.com?
Oh, yes.
He's one of my favorite writers. And he posted this article on March 30th. He has an idea, and I agree with. Why don't we all just start ignoring David Hogg?
Yes.
Everyone keeps giving him all this attention. And from here on out, let's make a pledge. We'll never bring his name up again unless he does something absolutely outrageous.
really stupid? Look, he does something stupid every week. That's the thing. It's like saying backpacks are protected as free speech under the First Amendment. Good Lord, he should get educated on the Constitution. That is just dumb. He's talking about Fourth Amendment, which is protection against unreasonable search and seizure type things. It's not, a backpack is not a First Amendment political speech thing. Give me a break. The kid doesn't know. I feel bad for him. He's just ignorant.
He's just a kid. He's a 17-year-old who's ignorant, vulgar, and we can't hold that against him.
I sure can. I can hold ignorant and vulgar against you, because you don't have to be ignorant. You don't have to be vulgar. You can educate yourself, and you can keep your mouth
That's
clean.
number one. But it's also the media that is called. Can you imagine what his inbox looks like right now? Media Matters, CNN, please come on. They probably have him on text messages. I mean, the media is just at fault as much as he is. I mean, when he's going around calling Dana Lash disgusting and accusing Marco Rubio of accepting blood money.
Oh, man. He's a tool.
He is.
He's a useful idiot and a tool, and he doesn't even know that he's being used by the make-believe media to create and agitate and be an agitprop. That's exactly what he is. He's very useful, and maybe he does know it, because he does throw around, like I said, he throws around the children card. Don't mudsling at children. He's trying to play the victim child card. And it's I guess it's working to some degree, but I'm really dismayed at these advertisers and stuff. But that is financial warfare that he's doing. When he goes online and demands, that these and outs advertisers and stuff, it's like doxing somebody in a way. But when you go after the advertisers, you're going after somebody's livelihood.
Yeah,
especially in the media world. And that cuts two ways. So he ought to be very careful, because he's the one that really wants a job on CNN. I mean, what's the ratings on CNN? They're in the toilet.
They're probably going to give him his own show.
Probably the David Hogg Baby Brat Hour or something. Guns are bad. Guns are really bad.
Oh man. Oh man. Well, Susan, we're coming up on that time. I mean, I can't believe almost an hour's went by.
Dang, we'll have to do it again next week.
Do we have to? No, I'm just joking.
But we're not going to talk about the Tide Pod eaters and the condom snorters, okay?
What if we have let's go out on a limb. What do you think is the next Gen X or Gen Z ludicrous challenge?
You know what? I could never have told you. I would never have even believed it was possible that kids would want to crunch Tide Pods and snort condoms. To me, I'd like them to just have a literacy challenge. Like, can they read anything?
Maybe eating concrete.
The Constitution. How about we have a constitutional reading challenge? Can you read the Constitution? Just even the Bill of Rights, any part of it, and understand what it means? I mean, that would be a good challenge, because nobody understands it. It's kind of sad. I have no clue. What do you think they're going to do? What's a wacky challenge you think they're going to do?
Eating concrete?
Licking concrete?
Yeah, no, eating concrete. Putting the mix and putting some water in.
Oh!
I would have never thought snorting condoms. I mean, that's absolutely last. So I'm going out on the limb and going to say,
That would be bad. Let's not even. No. Don't eat. Please, these are professionals on a closed course. Do not attempt. Do not try to eat concrete mix. No. Oh, my goodness.
All right, Susan. Hey, I will see you next week, and you are listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Radio Network. Good night, everybody.
God bless.
God bless.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.